This absolutely is another big one, a topic that I consider important, and me handling it properly within the story will have some serious impact on my enjoyment of consuming such tale. It is about morals, and did I want my good characters to have them? Not all of them, but certain things are just outside of what I'm willing to write about. I mentioned something like this when I was talking about my antagonists and me, the author, assigning them negative traits and actions simply to make them, well, what they are, villains. On the other hand, they still need to be evil. They need to be threatening in some way, commit deeds that are considered immoral within the setting, or they might take some actions against the protagonist that will set them against each other, and it's connected to that. Also, I am strictly speaking about morals and what is considered good or bad within the setting. I have no interest to ever bring outside interferences into my books, and I really want to do my absolute best to keep it that way, to never stray from this one point. So if certain things are considered immoral, if certain things are considered bad by the world that I create, if the characters within that world commit said actions, the world around them should be willing to acknowledge that, and if there are good characters around those events, again, good relative to the setting, they should react to such actions accordingly. I personally consider some things way out of my comfort zone and thus will not write about them ever, but other actions I might consider good and bad depending on circumstances of that particular story. There has to be some case by case portion to that as well. Of course, that there are actions that can be considered good or bad depending on details and conditions surrounding them. And I want the good characters to be able to eventually recognize that. I want the story to reflect it, and specifically the characters to have reactions. I will have to always precisely define these things and make sure that I haven't lost myself in my own web of rules. Of course, that hypocrisy can exist within the story. There can be characters that treat bad as good and vice versa, but I want to achieve a state where the story won't. This is definitely something that I will come back to many more times because it's complex to me and I don't understand what I'm even trying to say. What's the conclusion that I'm attempting to reach? But I do want to say it out loud. Nevertheless, this is for today's intro, and now for Rapid Arrows and their encounter with the possibility of floods. The last on watch was Redcap, and the water almost reached the peg they are using as a sort of last warning to give them enough time to evacuate in case the situation becomes truly dangerous. But as it turns out, nothing happens during the night. But then the next day, when Speedy is on watch, a man shouts down from above that a dam broke one of a nearby pond, and thus a raging water is incoming. And he's warning them that they really need to run away as soon as they can. So Speedy sounds the alarm and raises everyone up that there is a huge wave incoming. Mirek organizes the retreat, stressing out that leaving behind a piece of clothing is nothing serious. Lives take absolute priority. So they run out all packed and start climbing up a hillside when Redcap notices that they forgot their flag, their club flag, the one they received all those chapters ago from girls after Mirek won a race, and him being the slightly rash, innocent kind of boy, he turns back to retrieve it. He gets back, takes hold of the flag, but the huge wave is already inbound, and the other four boys can only stare in horror as their cabin within the treetop gets almost submerged. Well, Redcap is standing in the doorway, feeling how the water is shaking the tree. Since it was an old one, that tree, it has weak roots, and there is a real danger that the water will just take the cabin alongside with the tree away. Well, Mirag is going to throw him a rope with a noose. He puts it around him, and despite Indra wondering if the rope will even survive his weight and the current, everything fortunately turns out well, and once safely on land, Redcap proudly raises the rescued flag and surprisingly manages to get away without a scolding from Mirag for almost throwing away his life. Well, their next adventure, still around the countryside, finds them wandering around a fair or a market, mostly with horses. The boys envisioning each one of them owning one and riding on them into the sunset, venturing forth into faraway lands. But then Yarka notices something on the ground, a large wallet laying there, one that is, as they find out after opening it, very, very full of money, a lot of it, according to shocked Speedy, more than enough for all of them to get a horse of their own. Well, Mirek, being the voice of reason, sets course towards the nearest police station to report their findings. On their way there, Mirek is holding the object close to his heart, but they get noticed by some unsavory gentleman who approaches them all sweet and thankful that they found his wallet that he'd lost, already thanking them for returning it. Well, it seems suspicious to Mirek, so he asks him in detail what's inside. The man doesn't know, he just proclaims that it's a lot of money, not exactly knowing the number, saying that he did not have it counted, which just cements that the initial reaction was correct. So Mirek covers with the wallet protectively, but still politely tells the man that he's sorry, but considering the situation and how suspicious his approach was, they are still going to deliver the wallet to the nearest police station and that he can follow them and prove that he in truth is the owner. Well, that sets the man off and he demands now the boys hand over the wallet, and if not voluntarily, that he'll just retrieve it himself. Well, a scuffle ensues, one grown man, an adult, against five young boys. He pushes Speedy away, who puffs up and threatens taking off his belt and showing the man, teaching him some manners, while some locals appear and start questioning what's happening. Mirek explains to them that they found this wallet full of money and were going to take it to the police when they were basically ambushed by the man who hastily retreats. So the boys arrive at the police station where they meet the actual owner who's been waiting there, probably hoping for someone like them to come forward. He immediately tells the exact number of money in the wallet and that there is even a paper that literally says his name. So all ends well, and the club gets a free ride to the man's farm where he's going to let them ride some horses. And then there is this legal thing. I don't know if other places have that as well, but you are legally obliged to reward a person who retrieves some of your possessions with a percentage of its value. I think it's 10% in my country. I'd say that the best translation would be finder's fee or finder's reward. And then the jovial man also exclaims that it would be awesome if everyone else was as honest and straightforward as these five boys. This is where I'm going to stop for today. I've got more things to say, as always, about more characters. I'll most probably repeat myself many times and most probably spout complete nonsense. And then I'm going to continue with the adventures of the club called the Rapid Arrows.